Hello, I'm Rachel. Welcome to my book club. Vampires are my special interest book club. One day I'm gonna have a logo to put there when my hands go like this. I'm gonna have a logo to put there, but I don't right now. So if you want to give me some money on the coffee account thing I have set up, or even just subscribe so that one day I get a little extra money and then I can afford to pay someone for a logo. Here we talk about vampires. I like to do short stories during my lives, which are, a lot of them are still public if you'd like to see them. For these longer form edited videos, I want to talk about long form novels. Today I have to talk about the Sonya Blue series by Nancy A. Collins, which is this. I don't like leaving these on my book because they get really annoying. I like to take them off, and then for some reason I didn't put it back so I could hold it up to you. You probably don't even recognize the cover anyway because it's the omnibus. But yes. Now, the thing is, when I originally read through these, at least Sunglasses After Dark, I had requested the book through my library and expecting to only get the singular first book, The Sunglasses After Dark, and instead I received a paperback omnibus, and I figured, why not make why not make lemons out of lemonade, and talk about more than just the first book. The thing is, I didn't necessarily enjoy the reading, and it burned me out pretty fast. I only ever made it through 2 of the books, and I've been trying so hard to smush these 2 into one video, and it's almost done. But I honestly think I should just cut my darlings and post this as one book and then put the second one out later. That's probably what I'm going to be doing. So if you enjoy this video and Sunglasses After Dark and Sonya Blue and me rambling about it for a while, then look forward to the second book video coming out eventually. I don't know if I'm going to do this again. I may only do videos about the first novel from now on in series. I don't really know. We'll see. But I at least am going to do something with the second book video because, oh my god, I just want it done and out of my line of sight. Sorry for rambling. I do have one more thing that I want to say before we get into it, which is that I've read 3 different versions of these stories, so there's some discrepancies sprinkled throughout. The paperback omnibus is different from the Kindle version that I purchased later, which is also different from the hardcover edition. My point is, however, that again, there's a lot of discrepancies sprinkled throughout. There's the very obvious ones, like in the Kindle version, I think that's the most recent edition, they talk about like iPhones, even though this was published in like 1989-ish, and obviously iPhones didn't exist yet. One thing that could be confusing, and I'm sorry if I make it confusing, the chapter numbers are different. In the omnibuses, they go from 1 through 10 in Sunglasses After Dark. There's 10 chapters. In the Kindle version, there's over 20 chapters. And I will like finish a chapter, go chapter 6, but then I'll say like chapter 17, and then I'll go back to like chapter 7, Sorry if that's confusing. Either way, we're moving forward in time, aren't we? The starkest difference is the physical copies versus the Kindles. She also really like dove into polishing her writing. So like the majority of sentences are different, but the content is the same. good for her. She got the chance to polish something as a more mature writer. Not a lot of people get to do that. A lot of people just have a book and then they can't touch it. But it does make me like wildly curious about what the first edition actually looks like. Not for any real reason, again, just curiosity. I wanted to say that just in case there's any like discrepancies I may have missed, because I've just gotten so used to the content that what seems normal to me because of the things that I already know may be weird to audiences. Sorry. And here's the synopsis of Sunglasses After Dark. Pause to read. And I believe that is all that I wanted to say right now. Thank you for listening to my PSA and for getting this far in the video at all. Thank you so much. Yeah, I will see you at the end of the video. Bye. Why did I say bye? Why did I say bye? I have to be careful with how I hold this because it says my library on the front cover. Also because it's an interlibrary loan and their copy is like, it's got tape on it. It's like falling apart. So I'm like nervous to fold back the paperback cover and hold it. If I break this book, I swear to God. Okay, it's got a page that isn't really a prologue. It's a little moon, big white moon, white as milk moon. You're all I can see from my window here in the dark. Your light falls silver and white across the walls of my cell. The night tide surges strong in me, so strong I can feel the grip of their drugs loosen. They fancy themselves high priests. Their gods have names like Thorazine and Lithium and shock therapy, but their gods are new and weak and cannot hope to contain me much longer, for I am the handiwork of far more powerful, far more ancient deities. Very soon my blood will learn the secret of the inhibiting factors the white-coated shamans pump into my veins, and then things will be very different. My beautiful moon, my big moon, white as milk moon, red as blood moon, the danger ward. Okay, that was a little cheesy for me, but fine. Millions of spiritual creatures walk the earth, unseen, both when we wake and when we sleep. Milton, Paradise Lost. Chapter 1. Claude Haggerty's watch played The Yellow Rose of Texas. Grumbling to himself, he stuck the dog-eared Louis L'Amour paperback in the top drawer of the desk and produced the keys to the danger ward from the depths of his orderly's whites. 3 o'clock in the morning, time for his rounds. Claude had been an orderly for most of his adult life. He'd originally intended to go into pro football, but a bad knee injury in high school put an end to that career before it had the chance to begin. He later discovered that standing 6'3" and tipping the scales at 280 pounds had its distinct advantages in the healthcare field. However, even at the age of 38, with high school 20 years gone and his midsection devolved into flab, Claude Haggerty was still an impressive specimen. He started work at Illusion Fields 7 years ago, and as funny farms go, it was an okay job. Okay. Stories that start in psychiatric wards are usually a red flag for me. I understand that historically state hospitals and psychiatric wards are very bad places to be where abuse happened on the regular. Generally, when it comes to stories that are spooky and dark, and they include things like psychiatric wards, it feels more like exploitation on the side of the people who were being abused, the victims of the whole process. Because generally, like, it's usually a ghost story, right? We end up in this haunted hospital and there are old patients clamoring around because they were like killed in this place and now they haunt it. So they become the bad guys, the monsters of the story. And like, it completely makes sense. But there's a part of me that doesn't like that the people who are the victims are now the monsters. It's really kind of frustrating. I think that these stories take like depth and care to not feel like they're hurting me personally. As someone who's been through the system myself. The phrase, the funny farm, was enough to make me go, oh, red flag. Okay. This is the kind of story we're gonna have. Okay. Let's keep going, sure. It sure beat the heck out of the state hospital. Aleutian Fields didn't waste time on charity cases. The hospital's clients were the sons and daughters, mothers and fathers of prestigious families. The sanitarium specialized in dependency problems. But for those with relatives whose difficulties tended to be far more serious than a fondness for tranquilizers and vodka, there was the danger ward. There was no attempt at rehabilitation in the danger ward, although no one came right out and said it, just as no one mentioned the exact reasons why these people were locked up. That was what you paid for. All in all, Aleutian Fields wasn't any different from any other private asylum, except for her. That was before they dragged her in 6 months ago. It had been during his shift. She was bound in a straitjacket and, God is his witness, a length of chain, with 4 strong men handling her. And still she lashed about, yowling like a wild thing. For a minute it looked as if she would get loose. Claude could still hear the sharp snap of the chain breaking. Then Dr. Wexler was there, syringe in hand, jabbing the needle through the canvas into the woman beneath. She collapsed immediately, motor nerves severed. Judging from the size of the dosage, she should have died. Claude was ordered to carry her into room 7. That was the first time he touched her. It was enough. That's when his job got tough. Since that night, his shift had yet to go by without one of the inmates waking up with the night horrors. They all claimed the woman in room 7 walked into their dreams. They couldn't, or wouldn't, elaborate on the details. Claude described the dreams to Dr. Morial? The ward's on-call psychiatrist. Morial asked him if he liked his job. Claude let it drop. And perspective shift. I hear the warder's heavy tread as he checks his charges one by one. It is night and the doctors have fled, leaving the patients alone with their dreams. It's been too long since I could think this clearly. It took me 2 months to crawl out of madness. Another 3 passed before my biosystem began to break down the narcotic cocktails they pump into me every day. Their drugs won't do them any good. With every night that passes, my immunity grows stronger. My mind is my own again. It's been so long, perhaps too long. The other has been free to move unchecked. I have to get out of here before something horrible occurs. I may have already done something, possibly hurt someone. The other's been dreamwalking, of that I'm certain. It hasn't gone unnoticed, although I should feel lucky they're only lunatics. Okay. No one believes them. No one wants to believe them. The guard is nearing the end of his rounds. I can hear his footsteps echoing in the hall and his ragged breathing. He's a big man. I can smell his sweat. I can taste his fear. He's been checking on the inmate next door. It'll be my turn next. He always saves me for last. I guess it's because he's scared of me. I don't blame him. I'm scared of me too. Perspective shift? Claude's frown deepened as he watched Malcolm whimper in his sleep. Even without medication, Malcolm usually enjoyed the slumber of a child. Now he writhed under the bedclothes, his face blanched and perspiring. He'd be waking up in a few minutes, screaming his lungs out, but Claude knew better than to try to shake the boy awake. The last time he tried it, he darned near lost a finger. Malcolm liked to bite. If somebody was shaking me awake in a psych ward, I would also bite them. Locked in his dream, Malcolm moaned and knotted the sheets with blind fingers. The muscles in his clenched jaw jumped as his teeth ground together. Claude shook his head and shut the observation plate set into the face of the metal door. There was only one patient left to check, the one in room 7. Claude wasn't even sure of her name. The charts and medication logs simply read Blue S. She was the last one on his rounds every night, simply because it took him that long to work up the nerve to look at her. The interior of room 7 was radically different from the others on the ward. Illusion fields furnished the rooms with unbreakable fixtures and beds with matching designer sheets and restraining gear. Room 7 was bare of everything except its occupant. There wasn't even a bed. She slept curled up on the padded floor, tucked into the far corner where the shadows were deepest, like a hibernating animal. At least that's how Claude imagined it. He'd never seen her asleep. Taking a deep breath, he flicked back the latch on the observation plate and slid it open. Yep, there she was. Blue crouched in the middle of her cell, her face angled toward the high, narrow window set 10 feet from the floor. She was naked, except for the straitjacket, her bare legs folded under her as if she were at prayer. It was hard to tell how old she was, but Claude guessed she couldn't be more than 23. Her filthy hair hung about her face in rat tails. None of the nurses wanted to touch her after what happened to Cowlish. Not that Claude blamed them. She turned her head in his direction. Claude's stomach tightened, and there was a thundering in his ears. He felt as if he were barreling down a steep hill in a car without brakes. Her eyes locked on him with a predator's guile. She inclined her chin a fraction of an inch, signaling her awareness of his presence. Claude felt himself respond in kind, like a puppet on a string, and then he was hurrying back down the corridor. In the darkness, Malcolm woke up screaming. Chapter 2. Catherine Wheel is a faith healer. She is the widow of Zebulon Wheel, quote, man of God, healer of the sick, speaker of prophecy, and founder of the Wheels of God ministry, unquote. Catherine took over Zebulon's work after he passed. We are watching a pre-recorded taping of one of her healing events. The organ music swells and a figure strides from the wings. It is a woman in a gold lame pantsuit. I'm sorry, she's in a gold lame pantsuit? I'm picturing it and it sounds amazing. Catherine welcomes the crowd and reassures them that she has been given Zeb's blessing to take over his work. He literally blessed her from the beyond, and she awoke the next day with his abilities to heal. What was that Disney Channel girl from the 21st century or something? You know, the blonde one who just wanted to see the pop band. Oh God, what's her name? Xenon, girl of the 21st century. 1999 Disney Channel original movie. I got distracted. Back to the book. She starts the healings with a woman with type 1 diabetes. Hi. Hello. A woman with type 1 diabetes is encouraged to crush her bottles of insulin. I guess you can't prove her diabetes is gone with immediate results. There isn't anything flashy here. The woman simply leaves the stage. Then Catherine slaps an old man in a wheelchair across the chest. He is able to stand and even push Catherine around in his wheelchair. However, he is clearly worn out by the end, and ushers quietly remove him off stage. Then the third person, George Bellwether, is called out by name. He is in the late stages of cancer and is very clearly dying. Catherine shocks the crowd by using her ultimate healing on George, where she reaches into his chest with her hand into his chest and pulls out what is implied to be the cancer that is killing him and just like plops it. George is slumped forward and not moving. Ushers remove him from the stage. He is dead. He's dead. She killed him. She preaches some more, asks for money, and then Claude turns off the TV. Haggerty wondered, not for the first time, what the heck was wrong with him. Here he was, spending his waking hours among psychotics, paranoid schizophrenics, neurotics, and compulsive personalities of every possible persuasion. So why waste his time watching a bunch of religious kooks who'd escaped diagnosis and bought themselves a TV studio? Claude complains that he is tired, but he can't sleep on the job. He's not afraid of losing his job, from falling asleep, but he is scared of the creepy dreams he gets while sleeping at Illusion Fields. Maybe he was going insane. All those years being exposed to crazy people were bound to have an effect, like water dripping on a stone, gradually eroding it away. His brain probably looked like the Grand Canyon. I hope you do go crazy, you asshole. Despite that, he still manages to fall asleep today, and he dreams a memory of the night his coworker Kalish was killed. It is tediously described in that warped way dreams can be, where he reaches like into a pocket, but the pocket just keeps going, so it goes from like normal pocket length to like up to his shoulder, and I have to suffer with him through it. Anyway, Kalish is implied to be abusive to the patients at Illusion Fields and probably a rapist as well. So when Claude gets to Blue's room, still in the dream, Kalish is on the ground, already dead. His pants and underwear are at his ankles, and his face and neck have been shredded. And Blue, S, is chewing on his neck. Claude removes her from the body, and an unseen figure behind him jabs her with a syringe of tranquilizer. Claude compares Sonia to a crazed panther from his hometown that mindlessly killed local pets, other animals, and possibly an adult human male. The townspeople burned the field the panther was sleeping in, burning the panther alive and haunting Claude with its screams of rage and pain. He compares Sonia to a crazed panther, mindlessly killing, while looking at her killing the man who was going to rape her. I want to kick him in the shin. I don't like this guy. Anyway, the unseen figure that jabbed her with a tranquilizer is Dr. Wexler, who is vaguely important to this story. He pops up a couple of times. He's just a guy that I have to mention. He's there. He's Claude's boss. I think he runs the whole place. I don't know if he like owns it, but he's like top dog there. And he tells Claude none of this happened, and the scene is cleaned up. A high-pitched whine came from the woman in the straitjacket. Rocking from side to side, she rolled onto her stomach. Using her head for a prop, she inched her knees forward, looking like a Muslim in prayers. She turned her face toward Wexler and growled. Her upside-down grin was enough to make Claude back away. The heavy door slammed behind Haggerty. He felt very cold despite the sweat running down his back. Something thudded against the door from the other side. A few days later, Claude sees a newspaper article titled, "Local Man Found Burned to Death in Car," that was about his co-worker Kalish. Clearly they hid the murder. Switching point of views to Sonia, she's asleep in her room in Illusion Fields. Walking through dreams seems to give the other power. Sonia is afraid that the other is taking control of her, and then the other does. How pathetic. Minor league monsters strutting and performing in their private grand jugadal. What the fuck is that word?
Guignol.
Guignol. Guignol. Great guignol. French puppet. Okay. How freaking lame. You want fear? You want terror? You want to see what it's really like? You used to know before they caught you and threw you in this playpen. Now you have to dream about blood and pain instead of living it out. You're no longer free to actualize the perfection of your private hells on the flesh of your victims. But that's the way life is. Once you're caught, buttholes, you're at the mercy of others. Welcome to your nightmares. And then we walk through the dreams of multiple people who are patients at the Illusion Fields with her. One of the dreams, the first dream, Sonia is chained to a bed frame and a man in a gimp suit is hovering over her. The other laughs. The man moves to punish her for laughing. The other breaks the chains and peels his head like an orange. Second one is a man in a linen suit is lustily watching people and animals burn to death. The other kisses him and he bursts into flames. Third one, I don't want to say this. Malcolm, the only other patient known by name besides Blue, S, is assaulting a child. Yeah, light him up. And then The scene cuts before we see what the other does to Malcolm, but assume it's bad. Come on, Malcolm. Time to play with Daddy. Claude was still in the after-hours joint, staring at Kalish's death notice. He was startled when a 16-year-old girl popped into existence in the chair opposite him. "Are you awake?" was the first thing she asked him. Taken aback, Claude had to think about it before answering. "No, I don't think so." "Darn, then I'm still dreamwalking. I need to get back before she gains control." The girl got to her feet and began to pace the confines of Haggerty's dreamscape. She turned and stared hard at him. "You're not one of the patients, are you?" It wasn't a question. She doesn't like that Sonia/the other have been manipulating Claude's dreams, and she tells Claude to leave and not come back. As she fades away, she tells him her name is Denise Thorne. "Back to Sonia. Time to go," she says, actually, like, explicitly, "Time to go." She stood up, tossing matted hair out of her eyes. She felt the drugs as her system purged the intruders from her bloodstream, reducing them to phantoms. Her mind was clear and her body her own. She could hear Malcolm as he wept in his sleep. She smiled and shrugged her shoulders once, twice. The canvas fabric fell away, revealing naked white flesh. She lifted her arms, studying the scars studding the inner forearms. They had not bothered to trim her fingernails during her imprisonment. Good, she'd need them. Moonlight limned her in silver and shadow, beckoning her to leave. She sank her nails into the padding of the wall and chuckled as it tore in her grasp. Lizard-like, she scaled the wall of her prison until she was level with the window. It was 3 inches thick, interwoven with wire mesh, designed to withstand repeated blows from a sledgehammer. It took 4 blows from her right fist for it to break, although every finger in her hand shattered on the 3rd try. She pulled herself through the narrow window into the darkness, midwife to her own rebirth. Her ribs groaned, then snapped as she forced herself through the opening, spearing her left lung. She spat a streamer of blood into the night air. Sonia Blue began to crawl, head first, down the wall of the madhouse. Back to Claude. He has sleepwalked to Sonia's room. When he wakes up and, realizes where he is, he unlocks the door, and it is empty. End of chapter 2. It says not to remove the little tag thingy, and I'm a rule follower, so we'll just cover it. Okay. You can't tell what this book is. Good job, me. Chapter 3 starts with an actual transcript of a police interview with William Burdett, night manager of Hit and Get number 321, which is clearly a gas station. At 4 a.m., a woman comes into the Hit and Get, and she is dressed in clothing much too large for her. She's barefoot, and her arms are covered in needle marks. Her hair is long and obviously unwashed and really, grubby looking. She heads straight to the sunglasses rack, and Burdett is so busy watching her that he doesn't notice a man come in until the man points a gun at him. When Burdett tells him there isn't any money in the register, the guy gets mad and is about to shoot him, but then the woman, who is Sonia, attacks him. He shoots the ceiling, and it drops on Burdett, who is then knocked unconscious. The police wake him up an unknown amount of time later. By then, the robber and Sonia are both gone. The glass doors have been destroyed from within. Somebody burst from the inside out. And the gun is on the counter, and the only thing that has been taken was a pair of sunglasses. End of transcript. Then Irma Clessy, a throwaway housewife character, for a few paragraphs bitches about her husband, and then finds the body of the robber in her trash can. There was someone looking up at her from inside the trash can. Okay, I was expecting it to be our Sonia Blue, the presumed vampire girl. So I was laughing, just imagining her just kind of crouched in there. It gets up. It just was incredibly funny to me. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Make my heart go boom, boom. My supernova girl. Now we go back to Claude. He is in his favorite diner reading an article titled "Armed Robbery Suspect Found in Trash Can." Claude was fired from his job by the end of the shift, and he was dozing in the diner booth instead of going home. From there, he goes to the library looking for any information on the name Denise Thorne. There is only one book about her, The Vanishing Heiress. The librarian tells him that the book was checked out 6 months ago and has yet to be returned. The librarian tells Claude that she remembers Denise Thorne as a young heiress from the late 60s who disappeared one day, and it was all the news cared about for weeks. Switching point of views to Dr. Wexler. He is in Catherine Wheel's mansion. He internally critiques the tackiness of the setting while revealing to us that he has been embezzling from Elysian Fields, and Catherine Wheel blackmailed him with that information into imprisoning Sonia Blue. It's implied that Wheel can probe his mind like psychically. Now, Wexler tells Wheel that Sonia has escaped, and then Wheel gets mad at him and then sticks her hand into his face and wiggles her fingers around. And the scene ends with him screaming. Cut back to Claude. I don't understand why we've chosen Haggerty as the main character, or as the guy we have to see everything through. I don't care about the orderly. I feel nothing for him. Couldn't you have picked someone cooler? More interesting? He has been reading the archived newspapers and the library computers. Denise Thorne went missing in 1969. She was an heiress of the Thorne Industries fortune. They don't say what Thorne Industries is or anything, but she's the heiress of a very rich family. She lived a typical rich girl life with fancy prep schools and expensive worldwide vacations. She was partying in London with a group of friends, and she was last seen speaking to an older man in the club. First, they assumed she was kidnapped, but no ransom note was ever received. Everybody assumes she's dead. Haggerty sat in the dark and stared at the face of a girl missing and believed dead for over 18 years. The face of his dream intruder. She had been a pretty girl with a strong jawline and high cheekbones. She wore her hair in the fashion of the day, long, parted down the middle, and straight as a board. He tried to superimpose the features of Sonia Blue. His mind rebelled. Claude falls asleep while pondering the connections, if any, between Sonia Blue and Denise Thorne. He is awoken at the library's closing at his car. Two men come up behind Claude. They are in nice suits and sunglasses after dark. They ask if he is the Claude Haggerty that worked at Elysian Fields, and Claude says he is, thinking these guys are cops or something, and they instead just attack him. Claude hits back, surprising them with his strength. The recognition was sharp, like a needle jabbed in a boil. The last time he had seen these men, they were grasping the ankles of Archie Callish. There was only a moment for Claude to realize that they meant to kill him, then the back of his head exploded. The two men beat Claude into unconsciousness. He wakes up to the sound of a train whistle. The men continue to ask him questions and beat him when he doesn't answer. Claude isn't completely capable of answering with his new concussion. While talking amongst themselves, they imply they are working on Wheel's orders. They start dragging Claude to the train tracks. Hands come out of the darkness and snap one of the men's necks. She landed on the roof of the car, hissing like a cat. Frank jerked around, his mouth a lipless line, and fired. The bullet struck her in the left shoulder, the impact spinning her backward. Haggerty heard her cry out, then the sound of her body striking the ground on the other side of the car. Frank cleared the hood of the car and stared at where her body should have been. Oh, crap. Her fingers dug into the back of Frank's neck before he had time to realize she was behind him. Her grip was so tight it pinched the nerves, temporarily paralyzing him. She reached around with her free hand and squeezed the wrist on his gun hand. Delicate bones ground together and collapsed, splinters of bone spearing the pulse point. Frank screamed like a girl. Haggerty wasn't surprised when Frank came flying over the hood of the car. He babbled to himself in a sibilant whisper, "Antichrist, Antichrist, Antichrist." Sonia beats up the remaining man, slamming his head against the car and ripping out his throat. But that's not what made him faint. It was when she pulled her lips away from her teeth, revealing canines that belonged in the mouth of a wild animal, and tore open the throat of the ruined thing that had been Frank. That's when he fainted. Claude has another dream sequence that does nothing but annoy me that it exists. When he wakes up, Sonia enters the room he's in to put a washcloth on his forehead. He yells at her, terrified, to leave him alone. Stay the F away from me. Get your gosh darn mother effing hands off me. His throat tightened as if the words meant to choke him. To his surprise, she flinched. I should have expected this. She sounded tired. A sledgehammer caught him between the eyes as he tried to sit up. He struggled to keep from fainting. He did not want to lose consciousness in the presence of this woman. Don't move so fast. You'll black out again. Her voice carried a note of concern. She stood at the foot of the cot and watched him with twin panes of polarized glass in place of eyes. Haggerty cursed and dragged the washcloth off his forehead. He didn't want to look at her. Her very existence made his forebrain swell until it threatened to leak out his sinuses. It dawned on him that he was very thirsty. She suddenly moved from out of his line of sight. Claude fought a surge of hysteria. As much as he hated having her around, at least he knew where she was. Sonia Blue returned with a mason jar filled with water. Haggerty stared at the proffered glass but made no move to take it from her hand. Okay, if that's how you want it. She set the water on an up-ended orange crate next to the cot and stepped away. Sonia is now dressed in all black, all leather outfit, boots and motorcycle gloves included, and of course her black sunglasses. Claude asks Sonia what she is. You must have an idea as to what I am, and it's not an escaped lunatic, is it, Mr. Haggerty? She pushed the mirrored shades onto her brow, exposing the eyes they hid. Haggerty began to shiver like a man with fever. She let the glasses drop into place. Welcome to the real world, Mr. Haggerty. Can't push it too fast. I'll lose him if I force too much on him. If you mean the Claude guy, then just lose him. Who cares? He's just a guy. What do you need him for? I wanted it to go down quick and clean, darn it. Just go in there and take out those bozos and get him to safety. An impersonal kill, that's all I wanted. But I lost control. I couldn't resist playing with them. I've got to be careful. Ever since the escape, the other's been strong. Too strong. It's just waiting for me to screw up, looking for a chance to get out. I can't let my guard down. Not with him around. It's not his fault he was drawn into this. He's innocent. Since when did that make any difference? Shut up, darn you, just shut up. Cut to Claude. She was no longer in the loft, although he could not recall hearing her leave. He shuffled around his prison in his underpants, trying to decide what kind of movie he was in. If he could figure out the movie, then he stood a chance of surviving to see the credits. A relatable thought process. He wanders around the loft. He sees a television with a DVD player. On the DVD is a recording of Catherine Wheel's Faith Healing. Claude finds the library with multiple books, including The Vanishing Heiress. The book is open, revealing a family portrait of the Thorns, as well as a blurry photo of Denise from the night she went missing. Foreshadowing. Next to young Denise is a blurry man who has been circled in red with the words, Lord Morgan. There are more wink-nudge foreshadowing for future events that I'm not going to bother sharing. Claude complains that the loft is incredibly dusty, as though he has forgotten that Sonia Blue has been under his watch at Illusion Fields for 6 months, and thus has been incapable of keeping her home clean. Claude rifles through Sonia's fridge and is horrified to find glass bottles of blood. He drops one and bitches about that as well. Claude does some self-introspection. He decides that while he does fear Sonia, he doesn't not trust her. She reminds him of a cat he once saw playing brutally with a mouse. He never got over that feline sadism. Sonia returns. She has a change of clothing and food for him. Claude stares at the peanut butter and laughs hysterically until he faints again. Cut to Sonia. She has left Claude. She is out on the streets for some reason. She describes the various supernatural beings that she passes. And this is something that I've really liked about the series that I've seen so far, as the world building is really interesting. Nancy A. Collins really thought out the creatures she was going to put in her world, and it's really cool. supernatural beings that she passes. One is a Vargur leaning against a doorway, sharing a cigarette with prey. A prostitute succubus leaning into an open car window. An ogre standing in front of a sex shop. A priotic passes her on the street. His hair is on fire and his eyes and ears are smoking. I think he's like a fire demon. We see them sprinkled throughout the series. And a seraph is digging through trash, posing as a bag lady. Its aura is blue fire, and it has golden eyes with no pupils. Sonya is intimidated by its presence and runs away. Why were we getting all of this Claude stuff and the Sonya stuff is so cool and interesting? Sonya arrives at a dive bar. She's looking for someone named Chaz. He doesn't appear to be at this bar tonight. She spots a basement and heads downstairs, and inside are a group of young men with blue hair and motorcycle jackets. Sonya realizes she unwittingly walked into the home of the Blue Monkeys, a local gang. Chaz isn't with them, and Sonya turns to leave. A gang member stops to hit on her, and she turns him down, and he becomes aggressive. He grabs her by the hair, and she rips her hair out to backhand him. The other decimates the group. Fork. Oh, Fork. It's her, the chick Chaz was talking about. That was when the other made its move. You forkers think you're tough, huh? You think you're bad? You crap heads can't even handle a girl. Shut up. Shut up. It's bad enough without you provoking them. Let's go. Let's just walk out of here, darn you. Her laughter grew louder. The other hadn't enjoyed herself so much in months. A burly youth with a royal blue mohawk grappled with her. She caught a glimpse of the knife seconds before he slid it between her ribs, puncturing her left lung. She wrapped her arms around the mohawked punk, pressing him to her breasts. They looked like a high school couple slow dancing at the prom. The blue monkey stared into her upturned face, expecting her to die. The other grinned and belched a gout of blood into his face. The blue monkey began to panic. He backpedaled, desperate to break free of her embrace, but she refused to let go. His face was a blood-slick mask, his eyes bulging like a vaudeville minstrel's. The other unsheathed her fangs. Every synapse in the tough's brains overloaded and blew. Get her off of me! Get her off of me! Two of his friends grabbed the other's shoulders and wrested her from her unwilling dance partner. They stared dumbly at the knife buried to the hilt in her chest. The other plucked it out as if it were a bothersome thorn. Hey, lover, you forgot something. She flicked her wrist, and the blade buried itself in the punk's Adam's apple. Wahoo! The other leapt atop the pool table, surveying the carnage. 2 dead, 2 crippled, 1 maimed. Not bad for starters. One of the boys made for the door. No, 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 mustn't have that. Not while the party was still in full swing and she was having such a good time. One of them tells her where Chaz is before she feeds on him. A wonderful establishment. I'll have to go there more often. The other smiled as she walked away from the flashing lights and ambulance sirens. Marvelous workout. Simply marvelous. Just what she'd been needing. She hawked a piece of lung onto the pavement without breaking stride. Just the thing to take the edge off before she got her hands on Chaz's sweet little butt. Cut to Chaz. He is in a dive bar called Hellhole and he's navel-gazing. Then there was Sonya. The relationship had lasted the longest. What had Sonya called it? Symbiotic. That was the word. Yeah. She needed him to lure her prey into the open. It'd been dangerous, but she paid him well, and the sweet rush of adrenaline and fright involved in the hunt got him higher than any street drug. But in the end, he'd committed a major sin, as listed in the Gospels according to Chaz. He'd become dependent on her. Now that was scary. His mother has his same psychic powers, but unfortunately didn't understand what they were and went insane. He's had a hard life on the streets since 12. He became hard to survive. That's his excuse for turning on Sonya. He turns to lusting after the waitress before Sonya arrives. Chaz smiled into his drink. Hello, Chaz. Long time no see. The hand on his shoulder pinned him to his seat. Chaz's skin grayed and sweat jumped from his brow. Sonya. She smiled without revealing her teeth. Sure is. Mind if I join you? No, of course not. Have a seat. Cut the bull, Chaz. You can't lie to me. Not that I don't know it, anyway. They must have paid you well. I can't see you slitting your throat for 2pence. She studied him for a second. Jesus, he looked like crap. It was true. Nearly every dollar he'd earned had gone up his nose or in his arm. She marveled at the transformation. Not even her own fall from grace had been so thorough. He tries to seduce her.
He looked into her face, searching for signs of her weakening. He'd played the game before. He'd gotten rather good at it over the years, despite the lack of eye contact. He'd have to screw her, but that was the easy part. He'd long since learned how to get it up and keep it up, regardless of his partner. It was sidestepping her wild, sadistic rages that was tricky. I'm sorry, Chaz. The other smiled. But Sonya isn't in right now. It's a good thing, too. She'd probably do something really stupid, like forgive you. Chaz tried to pull away, but it was too late. She'd already reversed the grip on his hands. Let me go.
They exchanged barbed questions and answers. How much money did he get from crossing her? £500,000. Where is it? And you would think that they mean where's the money, but he hands over a fancy lacquered switchblade, which she clearly wanted. Why didn't you run after you sold me out? I don't know. Who really paid you to do this? Jacob Thorne.
There was a heartbeat's worth of silence. Then the face below the sunglasses writhed. Chaz was pleased to see how deeply he had hurt her. Liar. She grabbed Chaz by the throat and dragged him from his seat. She shook him, determined to flail the truth out of his pale, wasted body. Chaz's head lolled backward, the weight of the skull no longer supported by the neck. The bastard was smiling. Hustled again.
A cut to Claude. He wakes up from the loud sounds of Sonya returning. He finds her slumped against a wall crying.
Denise? She whirled about, startled by his presence. Claude heard himself cry out, as if from somewhere far away. Her mouth was smeared with blood, but that wasn't the bad part. The bad part was she didn't have her sunglasses on. The whites of her eyes swam with blood and were red as fresh wounds. There were no irises, just overexpanded pupils the size of shoe buttons. There was no humanity in them. They were the eyes of a wild thing. She recoiled from the light, lifting a forearm to shield her horrible, flat eyes. The hiss that escaped her made Claude's testicles crawl.
She yells at Claude to leave her alone. End of chapter. And end of part 1.
He reached out to snag her mirrored sunglasses. Bet you got trouble seeing with them fancy butt shades on, but...
Chapter 5. Resurrection Blues. This year I slept and woke in pain. I almost wished no more to wake. Lord Tennyson, in memoriam. Sonya relives her past while she sleeps. This happens every time she sleeps. She has memories of being Denise Thorne, but she has no emotional connection to them. She remembers that last night that she was Denise the most vividly. Lord Morgan, the circled in red man, is indeed the man at the club with Denise that night. I do not recall the exact moment Morgan made himself known. He was just there, as if he'd been present all along. He was tall, distinguished, and looked early middle-aged. He was elegant and debonair and Cary Grantish, with streaks of silver at his temples and an impeccable Savile Row suit. He called himself Morgan. Sir Morgan. He was an aristocrat. The way he carried himself, the way he moved, his tone of voice, made it evident he was a man, used to issuing commands and having them obeyed. He looked out of place in the club, but no one would have dared challenge his right to be there. Sir Morgan plied her with champagne and produced an endless stream of urbane banter. Despite her millions, Denise was a teenage girl and, therefore, susceptible to romance and fantasy. She imagined herself the poor little rich girl with Morgan as her Prince Charming. Unaware of her fortune, he had picked her, out of all the older, more experienced women in the nightclub, to be his companion. Stupid little get. All right, calm down. She's a victim. He took her from the club to his limo for a night ride through London. He raped her, fed on her, and dumped her body in the street. The horror of what was being done to her broke through the shock barrier her mind had erected to protect itself. Everything that was Denise Thorne disappeared, raped into oblivion by her demon prince. And I was born. Death's funny. It fans whatever spark of self-preservation is left in your carcass into an inferno. Somehow, I found the strength to pull myself onto the sidewalk. I dug my fingers into the cracks in the pavement and hauled myself along the concrete an inch at a time. The blood kept making me lose my grip. Even though I was horribly bashed up, I kept thinking about how badly my teeth hurt. The pain in my upper jaw overwhelmed my other injuries. I remember hearing a man yell, "Oi!" and I can remember the pavement vibrating under my belly as he ran towards me. But the very last thing I recall before sliding into my coma was a weird tingling in my fingertips, like bugs were crawling all over them. It wasn't bugs.
It was my fingerprints changing.
Denise/Sonia wakes up in the hospital. She has been unconscious for 9 months. Get it? Do you get it? 9 months, like a baby, like a fetus. She was unconscious like a fetus, and now she's reborn. Do you get it? 9 months.
I woke up 9 months later, but that's not the point. The thing is, I woke up empty. I wasn't a complete tabula rasa. I knew that 2 + 2 = 4. I could still speak and understand English, and I knew all the words to Strawberry Fields Forever. But as to who I was and where I came from, I drew a blank.
She rips out her tubing like a badass and leaves the hospital without talking to anyone. She's sick and barely able to move. She lands on the street just like face down and is just like not capable of escaping the coming dawn when a man appears.
I relaxed in the stranger's arms. I was warm and, for the moment, safe. I listened to his heart thump in his chest and the rasp of his breathing. I felt secure. My world had a focal point. My savior's name was Joseph Lent. Joe was a pimp. He was a big man in his early 30s. He resembled a Mick Jagger who'd gained 50 pounds and decided to play goalie for the Hammers. He wore his dirty blonde hair long enough to touch his collar. He dressed flash. Nicely tailored suits that could pass for Savile Row jobs. He used to laugh at how the poncy bastards who ran the shop sniffed while they waited on him. Like they was afraid of smelling something bad. Har, har, har. He'd laugh and show his tooth, the gold bicuspid. That was always a bad sign. He'd laugh with his mouth, but his eyes would never join in. Later, he'd get drunk and use his fists. Joe became my man. Not just any man. He was the man. He was my father, brother, lover, boss, and personal terror. He schooled me for my role in life. He taught me how to walk, talk, dress, and tell vice plants from the regular tricks. I was a good student. I was desperate for an identity, any identity, and Joe Lent was more than happy to define my world. He's the one who named me Sonia Blue. Sounds exotic, like one of them long-legged Danish birds. It was perfectly natural that I should walk the streets and proposition strange men and give my money to Joe. Didn't every woman? I was barely a year old. How was I to know any different? He offers her protection from the cops / the rehab she obviously escaped from, and in return, she will work for him, and he is a pimp. To be clear, she's got, like, needle marks from being unconscious in the hospital for so long, so like from then on, every time somebody sees her, they're like, oh, she has needle marks. That's a junkie. Not realizing that she was unconscious in the hospital for 9 months. Long story short, one day, Joe Lent goes crazy. If Sonia had been human, he absolutely would have killed her. Instead, he beats her, and it unlocks Sonia's the other. Joe brought his cane across my back, and I felt ribs snap. Suddenly, my hate changed. I felt it curdling and churning inside me, transforming itself into a force I couldn't contain. I opened my mouth to scream, but all I could do was laugh, and laugh, and laugh. I do not remember what happened after that.
Joe Lent is dead.
I looked in the mirror and saw the blood smeared across my lips. I opened my mouth in dumb protest and saw, for the first time, my own fangs. They emerged from my gums hard and wet, stained with stolen blood. I cried out and pressed my hands over my mouth in an attempt to hide my shame. I remembered who I was and where I'd come from and how I got there. I remembered what I was. I heard Morgan's dry farewell laugh as he tossed me from the car. I recalled the weird writhing in my fingertips just before I went into hibernation. I think I went insane then, at least temporarily. The part of me that fancied itself human went on vacation.
Sonia goes on the run. She discovers she now needs to wear sunglasses in the daylight and that she has a hunger.
The hunger was my biggest problem. The hunger was a balloon in my belly. When the balloon was full, I functioned normally. I even felt good enough to fool myself into thinking I was human. But when the balloon was empty, the hunger was released, threatening to destroy me from the inside out. It felt like a massive meth overdose. My heart and pulse nearly shook me apart. My lungs were filled with cold lead and my guts full of bamboo splinters. Compared to the pain I've endured since then, the early stage of my addiction was a cakewalk. I bought live rabbits and geese from the markets and drained them as humanely as I knew how. The salty hotness of blood as it filled my mouth was appallingly delicious. A warm, pleasant feeling replaced the pain as I drank, but it was never really enough. Deep down, I knew I wanted something more than the blood of animals. Sonia ends up working for a madam on a boat for some time. Two men argue over who gets to sleep with Sonia first. She can feel the rage emanating from one of the men, and it turns her on. The Swede's rage was exquisite. He stared directly at me, and I felt a brief connection between us, like the spark that detonates a keg of dynamite. He wanted to see the big man's blood. So did I. They devolve into a fist fight. While the other girls run from the carnage, Sonia stands there watching, hypnotized by the waves of rage. One man kills the other and is then killed by the madam. Sonia leaves the boat the next day. And then she goes on a rundown of being a vampire in her world. Sonia is sensitive to sunlight. Being in direct light makes her skin itch and gives her a migraine. With sunglasses and heavy clothing, she can function. Garlic doesn't harm her. Sonia fears, at this point in the story, touching crosses or going into churches. She doesn't want to test if they will harm her because of all the movies she's seen where vampires melt from touching holy water. She's not willing to test if a stake through the heart will kill her. She is aging, but very slowly. She heals quickly, almost instantly, aka why Jolent is capable of beating her, but she can continue on without going to the hospital or anything. She isn't sure if she can turn into a bat. She tried once by concentrating really hard on it, and all it did was make her skin itch and it freaked her out a bit, but nothing actually happened. She does have hypnotic powers and the ability to feed on emotions, what happened with the madam on the boat, and she can read minds. The minds of drunkards, madmen, or the truly evil come to her the easiest and most clearly. In 1974, Sonia is employed by another madam in Zurich, Germany. She switched from the submissive role to a dominatrix. One of her clients, Herr Wallach, invites her to a social party of intellectuals and scientists. At the party is a man named Pangloss. Pangloss halted in mid-anecdote and gazed at Wallach. My first impression was of a man in his early 50s, his longish black hair randomly streaked with gray. He wore an evening suit and wire-rimmed glasses tinted dark green. "I am delighted to make your acquaintance, Fraulein." Wallach cried out as my fingers bit into the soft flesh of his upper arm. I was close to fainting, but I could not look away. Wearing Pangloss's clothes and seated between the twin automatons was a dead thing, resembling an unwrapped mummy, its flesh the color and texture of parchment. There was enough nose left to keep the wire rims in place, and I caught a glimpse of banked embers deep within the sockets. A few strands of silvery hair clung to the yellowed, flaking scalp. The creature lifted a skeletal hand, its fingers capped by filthy, splintered talons, and fitted an ebony cigarette holder in its lipless mouth. Sonia is obviously upset by this vision, and Wallach takes her outside for fresh air. Pangloss follows. Once Wallach leaves to get her a drink, Pangloss starts his interrogation. "Who sent you? Whose get are you? Answer me." They have a brain fight off, and Sonia manages to push his mind out of her mind, and that freaks Pangloss out. All she tells him is that she was born in 1969. Hey! They are interrupted by a small man named Gilardi.
Gilardi or Gilardi? The world may never know.
Pangloss leaves. Gilardi asks to meet Sonia later at her job. She gives him her business card. Wallach returns with water and gossip about Gilardi. He's one of Europe's leading scholars on fantasy and the occult. Rather, he used to be. He wrote several volumes on the masters of the genre, Poe, Lovecraft, and the like. Then he went over the edge. In fact, 10 years ago, he suffered some form of fit while hosting our little event. Most unfortunate. After that, he started claiming werewolves and vampires were real, or some such trash. He even wrote a book about shadow races living in secret coexistence with humanity for thousands of years. Of course, the book was widely ridiculed when it was published, made himself a complete laughingstock. Chapter 6. Gilardi does indeed visit Sonia at her job. She attempts to seduce him as per her usual work shift, and Gilardi throws holy water in her face and slams a cross on her forehead. Sonia's face doesn't melt, and Gilardi eventually stops praying and apologizes. She tells him he wasn't wrong, and she is indeed a vampire monster. I took my hands from my face, and to my surprise, as much as Gilardi's, I began to cry. It was the first time I'd done so since Joe Lent's death. I am Nosferatu. You were not mistaken. 9. His voice was soft, comforting. His hand strayed to my damp, unmarred forehead and patted it reassuringly. You are not one of the damned, child. Forgive me for thinking such foolishness. A flare of anger sparked deep inside me. What do you know about it, old man? I tried to pull away from him, and when he would not let me go, I bared my fangs. He sucked in a sharp breath, but did not draw away. Let me see your eyes.
The knife she uses was given to her by
Even the dim light
Gilardi.
of my room was painful. How long have you been like this? Since 1970, maybe 1969. Unmöglich. He seemed as astonished as Pangloss. He wiped away my tears and told me to blow my nose. You are something very rare, Fraulein Blau. Maybe something that has never happened before. He handed me my shades, which I gratefully slipped back on. But you are confused, aren't you? And you do not wish to be Nosferatu, eh? Maybe we can work out an agreement between us, yeah? The old man smiled and rocked back on his heels. How would you like to come live with me? Gilardi owns an extensive library of vampire-related novels, fiction, and nonfiction alike. She's encouraged to search through it and find answers on what she is and what has happened to her. Eventually, he points her in the right direction. Die Vorgben, die Jingen. I took German in high school. I don't know how to say anything now. But it says the pretending ones, aka the book Gilardi wrote that made him a laughingstock. From here is the world-building info dump. Humans insist on defining reality by their standards. They are poorly equipped to do so since they are selectively deaf and blind in one eye. They are beings with an insatiable need to categorize the universe that surrounds them, but demand that the facts reveal a universe suited for human cultivation and exploitation. Things must remain status quo. The pretenders dwell in the cracks in mankind's perception of reality. To the untutored eye, they are nothing to look at. Beggars, cripples, prostitutes, anonymous strangers. Their faces are unremarkable, their demeanor bland. They aren't the type that like to draw attention to themselves. That is why Gilardi referred to them as pretenders. They pretend to be human, hiding their demonic otherness behind a mask of carefully constructed banality. Only to the trained eye do the beasts stand revealed, their auras suffused with fearsome energy. The change from human to vampire is triggered by either saliva or sperm. The change is literal. It restructures the victim's entire body, physically and genetically. This is why Sonya's skin inches and her fingerprints changed. Once the body is ready, a demon enters the host. The demon is like a newborn. It runs on instinct alone. The mind is completely empty. Most created vampires are zombies, aka revenants. They are considered brain damaged. They never develop the ability to function properly and are easily killed, typically by the sun. The most powerful vampires are called nobles. They are incredibly rare. Vampires can take decades to develop control over their powers. Most vampires are killed before they reach noble status. Nobles feed not on blood, but on emotion. Like a minion, question mark? What was I thinking when I wrote like a minion question mark? I don't think I've seen the Minion movies, but from what I understand, they hang around evil people and possibly caused World War II. Like a vampire. Gilardi gives Sonya another book, the Agrosomnia. This is the book that opened Gilardi's mind to the supernatural/pretender world. The Agrosomnia was a large, rather awkwardly bound volume with metal hasps and an Arabesque lock. It looked like a medieval teenager's diary. The text was in Latin, although some passages looked to be Greek. There were alchemical tables, conjuring diagrams, and what Gilardi claimed were Euclidean geometric formulas. Every other page was covered in complex, multi-layered patterns that, at first glance, resembled a child's collection of spirograph drawings. However, when I looked at it a second time, I detected words hidden amid the esoteric scribbles. Although my Latin was rusty enough to inflict lockjaw, I managed to decipher the opening line, "Greetings, you have regained that which was lost." I had to rely on Ghilardi's translation of the secret text, which detailed the habits of the various pretender races. Once I accepted him as my mentor, Ghilardi outlined the details of our arrangement. He would provide me with shelter and an identity while I would permit him to observe my evolution into a noble. Ghilardi stated that I was a fluke, a freak even by pretender standards. I was proof of man's tampering with the reproductive cycle of the vampire. Human technology had interfered in the natural order of things. Morgan had left me for dead in the gutter, and by all rights I should have died, but new blood was forced into my veins, diluting, if not completely neutralizing, the virus polluting my flesh. The demon was trapped inside a living host, not a piece of dead meat. Most irregular. Since I never died and my brain was in perfect working order, well, almost. I was evolving into a noble, a king vampire, at an unheard of pace. Ghilardi was thrilled by the prospect of documenting my progress. I was to be his proof that he wasn't a crazy old fool. Ghilardi wanted more from Sonia than to study her, however. He wanted to train her to be a vampire killer a la Van Helsing. They go to Frankfurt. Ghilardi and Sonia track down a revenant. The thing whined piteously when he saw the knife, the blade forged to resemble a frozen silver flame. I realized I was grinning. The blade went in easy, piercing skin and muscle like rotten sailcloth. The knife slid home between the 5th and 6th ribs, puncturing the heart as if I jabbed a pin. Landed fish, but showed no signs of dying. Frightened for the first time since the fight began, I stabbed his chest 3 more times. Nothing. Obviously, the old legend concerning impaling a vampire's heart was unreliable. I began plunging my knife into every organ I could think of, clinically, at first, but with increasing frenzy as I realized I was beginning to tire. The other laughed at me as I stabbed the struggling revenant. She was amused by my ignorance. Sonia learns to sever the spinal cord to kill a vampire. The scream stopped as if I'd pulled the plug on a stereo system. The derelict's eyes disappeared into their sockets, retracted by withering eye stalks. Repulsed, I stepped back and let the thing fall. His limbs curled inward like the legs of a dead spider. I moved away quickly, clapping a hand over my nose and breathing through my mouth. It didn't help. Ghilardi lost interest in vampire hunting after Frankfurt. I didn't. The amass of hate and frustration knotted in my guts was sated by my hunts. I wanted to feel Morgan's unknife squirting between my fingers, but was willing to settle for killing lesser beasts. I talked myself into believing it was a safety valve that allowed me to keep the other in check, that I was performing a public service. Idiot. I was doing it because I got off on it. 1975. Amsterdam. Sonia is stalking a vampire who is wearing the form of a young girl. She's got a starch pinafore and patent leather Mary Janes, and she looks like a child lost in time. The little girl vampire lures a man away from a concert hall down into a derelict area. Sonia gets bad vibes from the area that the little girl is leading the man down. She switches to pretender vision and sees a Nazi flag flying above the entrance of the building that the couple enters. Inside, still using the pretender vision, Sonia sees Nazis committing unspeakable human torture riddled throughout the building. Unspeakable as in, I'm not going to tell you. Figure it out yourself. The man stumbles out of a room profusely bleeding from his neck and dies before Sonia can help. The young vampire attacks, and Sonia has to fight off both her and a vision of Nazi Sir Morgan. The two seemingly see each other through time and space, and the vision ends with the death of the girl. Sonia pops the girl's head off. None of this comes up again. 1976. Pierre Lachaise. I don't actually care enough to keep reading this freaking story. Look, 1976, she's at the grave of Jim Morrison for some reason because she heard that teens were seeing him sometimes, was like the rumor going around. So she hid out with some teens who were waiting by his grave for him to appear like a ghost, but it was just a vampire pretending to be them, and he tried to attack one of the girls, but then Sonia was like, "Nuh-uh," and she beat him up. And that's that story.
Something that I remark more than once while doing my original reading of Sunglasses Over Dark is the comic book-esque vibe of the novel. I couldn't quite put my finger on why I felt that sad is comic book-like at the time, but I think I get it now. I definitely know now that the author writes comics and is well enough known in the industry. But besides that, each plot chunk that happens is fast-paced, action-packed, in kind of its own standalone moment. Well, maybe not each, but a lot of them. For instance, during the flashback chapters, Sonia learns an important lesson about vampires and vampirism from each small chunk of story. During her first hunt, she learns that vampires are killed by destroying the spinal cord. During the little girl vampire stuff, Sonia learns that vampires like to hunt psychically and that they prefer hunting in supernaturally damaged areas such as Nazi government buildings where human beings were brutally tortured. These are important moments for her to learn. They each lead to Sonia Blue becoming the Blue, S that we've come to like, love, hate, know. They can also be summarized for what they are or said as throwaway gags. There's no real need to go into such depth of each moment in time. That's why they feel like comic issues. Each issue gets us a little more through the story, but if you happen to skip an issue here or there, you still get the gist of the overall story plot and conflicts. Sonia is a vampire that hates vampires. She is a vampire hunter now, and once she was just a vampire newborn that didn't understand what was happening to her. But don't worry, no matter the issue you happen to pick up that month, Sonia will be covered in gore and stabbing someone with or without her sunglasses. The character introspection and dynamic character interactions are so few and far between that it almost doesn't matter what Sonia is thinking or feeling about herself, or Gilardi, or whatever pimp is running her life that issue. Sonia is a killing machine of killing machines. You aren't missing anything for another 20 issues when we finally wrap up the arc. I don't mean to imply that this is bad or bad writing or anything. It just has a vibe that nagged at me. Why do I find the story interesting but unsatisfying? How am I enjoying reading it and yet still wanting something more, something else? Again, I relay a few times that none of this is brought up again. I want my character moments to impact the character. I want scenes to be there for a reason that isn't necessarily getting from point A to point B. Point A, Sonia is newborn. Point B, Sonia is killer. I want more of the flashbacks. I want them to be their own book, but I also want more depth. And I know I wouldn't get that if the flashbacks were written as a standalone novel. These kinds of stories are popcorn, salty fluff that entertains you for a few hours and you don't dissect. The author isn't taking the time to dissect it. Why are you? It's just not the kind of story that matters to me long term, and it bugs me. I want more from Sonia, and for Sonia, and this just isn't what the story is interested in giving me, and it doesn't have to. It never promised to. It started with a monster trapped in a psych ward. Here we are. 1977, Rome. I was seated at a sidewalk cafe, nursing a glass of red wine while I watched the evening crowds when the messenger arrived. He was a thin, pasty-faced young man with unhealthy purple blotches under his eyes. I divined by the flicker of his aura that he was a human sensitive. He was also quite mad. "You are Blue?" he asked. He tells Sonia that a man named Pangloss wishes to talk to her and she must follow him. Sonia does indeed follow. He leads her to a villa basement. Guarding the door is an ogre looking at children's books and hitching. It's self-touching. I don't like that. The ogre menacingly unlocks the door, and the servant and Sonia disappear into the catacombs.
After walking for half an hour and descending 3 levels, the corridor emptied into a cubiculum, one of the larger and more elaborate burial chambers reserved for the wealthy dead. I stepped into the vaulted chamber, staring at its grisly decor. The cubiculum had been turned into a shrine of some kind, although I had a hard time imagining who might be so desperate as to seek solace in such a place. The far wall was studded from floor to ceiling with human skulls embedded in its mortar. The skulls, all of them missing their lower mandibles, were stacked one atop another. Chandeliers made from bones and wire hung from the ceiling. Candles burned in upside-down skulls, casting warped shadows throughout the burial vault. The walls that weren't dedicated to the skull shrine were pocketed with larger versions of the shelf graves the poor had been unceremoniously dumped in, resembling bizarre, multiple built-in bunk beds.
This is all very cool and has nothing to do with the plot. Pangloss is waiting for Sonia in this room.
One of the dead things stepped forward and fit an ebony cigarette holder between his grinning jaws. Miss Blue, delighted you can make it. This place, he indicated our surroundings with a languid wave of the hand, was forgotten by the Christians after the 8th century, Anno Domini, and has yet to be rediscovered by the human world. Pretenders, however, never forget. These catacombs are held sacred by the pretending races. It is one of the few locations where we can meet without fear of vendetta. It is a neutral territory, so to speak. You need not fear violence from me while we are here. I trust I can expect the same from you.
Sonia agrees, and Pangloss attempts again to question Sonia. Who is she working for? Why is she killing the lower-ranked vampires? Sonia has the same answers as before. No one, and just to kill some monsters. Pangloss is wordy and pompous, and his dialogue is a monologue, info-dumping how tasty the infighting between intellectual societies is. It's his favorite meal. Largely Sonia and we learn this. All nobles have broods. The more powerful the noble is, the larger their brood is, generally. Nobles power play by decimating each other's broods. Sonia's work has created drama within the nobles. They're pointing fingers at each other, claiming someone is starting a war. And Pangloss created Morgan, thereby making Pangloss Sonia's grandfather. Pangloss offers to become her teacher if in exchange she doesn't kill his brood. Sonia declines. Pangloss then offers to tell her where Morgan is. Sonia considers it and declines. They leave the neutral ground. Also, somewhere in there, it's revealed that the agrosomnia is not as comprehensive as Gallardi believes it to be, which makes Sonia feel sad for her teacher, and she swears she's never going to tell him that. As they're leaving the neutral ground, he stops and turns to face her, and he's like, "You remember how I said that they were neutral ground? Well, we're not there anymore," and he attempts to attack her, but she stabs him instead.
I got to my feet, panting and shuddering like a winded racehorse. Go away. Go away. I got to my feet, panting and shuddering like a winded racehorse. There was blood on my shoulder. I'd been bitten. I heard something that sounded like a cat in heat, shrieking and cursing from one of the myriad galleries that extended from the main corridor. I must have wounded Pangloss more than I thought. Holding my knife at the ready, I proceeded through the catacombs, following the light bulb shards. I felt like Hansel or Gretel, following the trail of breadcrumbs after the evil stepmother left them in the woods to starve. I was alternately freezing and sweating. My joints ached horribly, and my head felt like it was coming apart at the seams. Had Pangloss infected me with some kind of poison? I didn't know how long I wandered the catacombs in a delirious stupor, but I managed to stay in the right passageway.
Now back in the villa, Sonia is inexplicably compelled to search the upstairs for the missing ogre.
Mattress in one corner covered with filthy blankets. Jump scare. Oh, she jumped into a paper bag. Let me get a picture.
There are implications involving holes and dolls in a real child's arm. The ogre returns as Sonia is standing around in horror. He's more powerful right now than Sonia because of her injuries, and she escapes through the window and returns to Gilardi. 1978. Gilardi suffered a massive stroke while trying to find a publisher for his new work. I curtailed my hunting expeditions and remained in Geneva. I sat there for a long moment, my sense of loss so overwhelming it couldn't register as an emotion, and stared at what was left of my friend and tutor. I was named Gilardi's principal heir and executor of his will. I inherited the house, the grounds, his family fortune, and a professionally forged set of documents that provided Sonia Blue with a recorded past. I also inherited Gilardi's notebooks and the typewritten manuscript concerning his greatest discovery, me. This was the book that would lay to rest the idea that Eric Gilardi was a kook. I burned every last page in the central hall's marble fireplace. I rang Gilardi's solicitors and liquidated my entire inheritance except for 2 books and bought a one-way ticket to the Orient. Sonia goes to Japan. She is surrounded by a culture of people she doesn't understand. She tries to find the pretender community here but is overwhelmed by a feeling of alienation. She's watching a pair of women working in a mall and finds herself wanting to cry without knowing why. There, an old man comes up to her and asks her to follow him. She's curious enough to do so. At the old man's home, his name is Hakusai. He tells Sonia that he was taught by his family to see the people and places that are powerful, possibly supernatural. He was watching Sonia watch the crowd and felt her pain. He shares that his family were Shinto wizards and sword makers. Sonia asks if he will reforge the knife she used to stab Pangloss with into a switchblade. He does. It becomes the fancy switchblade Chaz stole from her after he backstabbed her in America. Sonia then travels to Hong Kong. She spots a powerful Buddhist monk in a crowd that she calls a kitsune. She loses him and is interrupted by a man offering help. He can take her to the monk for $10. Sonia agrees, but of course that isn't where he takes her. Instead, he attempts to attack Sonia in an alleyway, and she fights him off easily. She then rifles through his mind. He turns out to be a down-on-his-luck former human trafficker. Sonia and the other battle over the temptation to feed on him, and the other wins.
Who's the monster, Sonia? You or him? I flinched. I wasn't used to the other speaking directly to me. The strangling man at the end of my arm looked like a perverse hand puppet. Spittle, blood, and foam flecked the corners of his mouth. His tongue was the size and color of a black pudding. Monster is such an unfair word, don't you agree? I was aware of the hunger building inside of me. A cold sweat broke across my brow and I began to tremble. What makes the word human so darned wonderful? You're always mourning your humanity, denying yourself the power and privilege that are yours by right for fear of becoming inhuman. You fight to keep from doing what is natural for you simply because you pride yourself on being human. What is being human? Is it being like him? Why don't you put him to some use, eh? You'll be doing society a favor. I was standing on the mountaintop with Satan whispering in my ear, and I was weak. He was so close to death. When I took him, there was no real fear left in him, only resignation. By the time I was finished, my would-be murderer was very pale and very dead. I left him in the nameless alley, along with my humanity.
1979. Sonia returns to London. She hears whispers of Morgan being here again, but they turn out to be a few years old. She surmises that he must have a 10-year circuit and Morgan may not return to London for another 5 years. She settles for clearing out the lower supernaturals in the area. She's stalking prey at a bar and the pretender gets away. There she meets Chaz.
I shifted my vision to see what she looked like in the real world. An ancient crone was seated where the girl had been, her face wrinkled hideously. When she noticed me watching her, she put down her drink and left the pub. I hurried after her. The hag moved faster than I'd expected and was already a block ahead of me. I saw her dodge into one of the mews that riddled the district. I followed, switchblade in hand, and eager for confrontation. Instead, I found nothing, not a trace. But how did she know? That you were going to kill her? Have you tried looking in the mirror lately, pet? You got big-time predator red all over. He emerged from the fog, dressed in a silk suit the color of reptiles, a foul-smelling French cigarette hanging from his lower lip. I grabbed him by his narrow lapels. He looked a bit nonplussed, but there was no fear in his voice. Here now, don't go wrinkling the material, love. Who are you? What do you know what you were thinking? It's me job, ducks. Something dark and fast with sharp edges scampered through my mind. I grunted and let go of him. He carefully rearranged his clothing. I'm human, don't you worry. As if that bleedin' means anything. You're looking to kill them beasties, ain't ya? I mean, the very sight of 'em makes you want to heave, right? But you got way too much mojo, love. They can spot you half a mile off, see? He produced a small pocket mirror from inside his jacket and held it so I could glimpse my reflection. I'd avoided looking in mirrors ever since the night my reflection had taken a life of its own. I realized it'd been a mistake. I was surrounded by a crimson nimbus that strobed and pulsed with my heartbeat. I looked like an Eastern Orthodox saint. That's why the minute you show your lovely face, they split. What you need is a Judas goat, see? Someone to lure them away and set it up so you could snuff them easy, eh?
Chaz wants protection in exchange for being Sonya's Judas goat. Sonya agrees.
The 7 years I spent in the company of Chaz waiting for Morgan to resurface were ... educational. I got to know every low-life dive and sleazy after-hours club in the kingdoms, associating with the trashiest bastards ever to draw the dole. Don't get me wrong, I learned a lot from Chaz. Although his telepathic abilities weren't up to pretender standards, he'd mastered them to an amazing degree. He knew how to dampen his reception so he wouldn't be on 24 hours a day. He also knew how to shield himself from other sensitives. Bright boy, a complete and utter prick, but still a bright boy. He was my only friend. I hadn't realized how much I missed having someone to talk to, someone I didn't have to pretend with. Chaz was my friend and confidant, and, at times, my lover. He peddled dope on the side. I know what you need was his favorite come-on with the junkies, without fear of reprisals from disgruntled customers or rival dealers. Word on the street had it that Chaz was under the protection of someone, or something, mean enough to shit plutonium. He relied on me to save his butt whenever he got in trouble, which proved to be a regular occurrence.
1983. Chaz stole cocaine from a Scottish mob boss who, it turned out, is also part pretender, part ogre.
There's so much accent happening on this page right now.
Sonya has to rescue Chaz a few times from the boss's goons. Eventually, the boss, Chaz, and Sonya have a meeting. Thick Eddie does not want money that would cover the value of the cocaine Chaz stole. He wants to make a lesson out of Chaz for crossing him. He sets his full-blooded ogre cousin on them. The ogre is the same one from the underground neutral area in 1977. This time, Sonya fights him instead of running. She stabs him in the neck, killing him. The scene ends with Sonya alluding to Thick Eddie dying by car bomb a few days later. None of this matters again. 1989. Chaz lures a vampire out to Sonya. He turns out to be Morgan's chauffeur from the night she was left for dead and became a vampire. Sonya goes berserk. She kills the vampire before he can tell her anything about Morgan or his whereabouts. Unfortunately, she does so in view of the public. She and Chaz flee Europe. Present enough day? Sonya's memories get fuzzy and disjointed. Crap. What's wrong? Everything's jumping and rolling like the picture on the cheap TV set. The weird part is that it's so familiar, like it's supposed to do that. I can't even think about Catherine Wheel without the signal trying to scramble. We control the horizontal. We control the vertical. Like heck you do. What's going on here? Darn it, if this is your doing. Me. Why should I keep you from continuing your boring little monologue? I've only heard it every sleep for the past 6 months. Poor, pitiful me, I've become a big, bad monster. Give me a break. No, as much as I'd love to change channels, I'm not the one behind your technical difficulties. You gotta dig deeper. Deeper? Just tell your story. You'll find out. Chaz hates America. He keeps bitching that it doesn't have history. He's the one who shows Sonya the newspaper article about Catherine Wheel. Sonya sends him out to investigate Wheel. When Chaz returns, he kisses her and shoots her with a tranq gun. Don't tell me you're not gonna finish this exciting episode. Can't. Nothing but static. White noise. Hurts when I try to remember. What a wimp. You're real good at slam-dunking badass Ikers into trash cans. Become the first aversion barrier and you're whining like a gosh darn baby. What are you blathering about?
Look, bright girl, you've been running the same darn autobiographical saga every sleep for the past 6 months, and you never get past the first barrier. Never. But it's time for you to finish the story, Sonia. The barrier is gone, and white-hot static fills my head, and I try to yell and tell it to stop, but the noiseless noise fills my mouth and nostrils. I'm drowning in emptiness. Then all hell breaks loose. I can't. Don't make me. Please, don't make me. Don't make you do what? Look, don't make me. Can't make me. She won't let me. Won't let you? She won't. What are you so scared of? What could possibly frighten you so badly you'd rather go mad than look at it? What is it, Sonia? Shut up. Shut up. I won't look. I refuse to listen to you. Who erected that barrier, Sonia? Was it Wheel? No. Catherine Wheel is expert at knocking down walls, but I doubt if she knows the first thing about building them. No, Sonia, I think you know who built that wall. It was Denise, wasn't it? Denise is dead. Is she? Why won't you look? Liar, liar, liar. What is Denise afraid of? Finish the story, Sonia. What is Denise afraid of? You. Me? She's afraid you're not what Gilardi thought you were, that he was wrong, that you're not a demon from hell, that there's no other and no Sonia Blue, only Denise. Now, was that so bad? The last time you wimped out and went nuts rather than consider that possibility. And look where it got you. You and your humanity hang up. You provided Wheel with a loaded pistol and invited her to fire it point blank. Is it true? Is it true that you and I aren't real, that we're just parts of Denise Thorne's imagination? You got me. Even if I did know, would you believe me if I told you? But if it is true, then I don't exist. Neither do you. Doesn't that bother you? Maybe. We're still here, aren't we? But time to wake up. Claude bent over the motionless body on the futon. Well, we're back to Claude, aren't we? The shadows in the loft had lengthened into early evening when the muscles in her arms, legs, and face began to contract and relax. He was reminded of the dead frog he'd hooked up to a dry cell battery back in high school biology class. Are you all right? I thought you were sick or something. The first thing she thought of as she surfaced was, I'm going to kill that Birch. But what she said was, yeah, I feel fine. So we're back in the present and we're still stuck in Claude's point of view. Fantastic. I'm so excited for the rest of the novel. Present day, aka chapter 21, Catherine's point of view. It's really just her backstory that goes on for a while, and because she's in a vampire character, I don't know if I really want to include it that much. I have some bullet points. Catherine grew up in a poor family ripe with alcohol abuse and child abuse. One night she used her burgeoning mental powers to burn down the family home and kill her whole family. She runs away to work in a circus and meets Zeb the mind reader. They went from reading easy details out of Mark's minds as magicians to running a ministry. The only thing worth noting is the ghosts of the people she's murdered following her around, and hence why she becomes an alcoholic. This chapter has simply convinced me that Catherine is a gatekeep girl boss. What is it? Gaslight gatekeep girl boss. And I support her to the end. Yeah. Stick your hand into people's stomachs and rip out the wrong organs. I'm here for it, girl. I hope you get away with it. Another chapter where I feel like, one, I want more of this. This woman's life is really interesting. But on the other hand, I want less of it. Or at the very least, for it to have been integrated better into the story. Because, again, nothing has happened. It just full stopped for several pages while she went through a flashback of her entire life. Like, her entire life was interesting. A little too much sexual assault in it, but whatever. But, like, nothing of the current timeline has moved since page 58. Who edited this thing? Chapter 22. Claude and Sonia leave Sonia's lair. They encounter a revenant and vamp duo in a dark alley. Sonia kills them while Claude throws up in horror.
This is notable because revenants and vampires don't generally work together, but does it matter? No, they're killed instantly.
Chapter 23 is Jacob Thorne's point of view, aka Sonia's father. Jacob is musing to himself while walking down to his home office in the middle of the night. He's thinking about his wife, Shirley, who, after their daughter's disappearance / presumed death, she became obsessed with trying to find her, first with private investigators and then later with like psychics and spiritualists and he says other sleazy con artists. By the time he decided it was time to step in and try to get professional help, it was too late. The wheels had their hooks in her. He'd hoped the faith healer's sudden death would set her free, but he hadn't counted on the widow. She was 1,000 times worse than her slimeball husband ever thought of being. He turns on the light, and Claude is sitting at his desk, and the blue woman is standing behind him. Thorne stared at Sonia with open fear and disgust. She said you'd never get out. Who? You mean Wheel? Her face was unreadable, but there was something in her voice that made Claude look up from his place behind the bar. Why? Why couldn't you stay away after all this time? ... I used to pray someone could prove you were dead. That way I could get it over with. Grieve and be done with it. That's a horrible thing to pray for, isn't it? Proof of your only child's death? I had my prayer answered all right. His mouth twisted into a bitter smile. My daughter's dead. Then why did you agree to put me away if I'm not your daughter? She threatened to tell my wife about you. I couldn't allow that. But you said I'm not your daughter. Thorne shuddered, refusing to look at her. No, but you're hers. I buried my Denise years ago. My wife's Denise is another story. Thorne plays a video taken during Sonia's stay at the hospital. It shows her eating a chicken, a dog, and then a homeless person. She's rabid and revolting. You aren't my daughter. Thorne's voice was that of a man suffering a deep wound without anesthetic. You're some kind of freak, an aberration of God and nature. You might have her memories, but you aren't her. You can't be her. I won't let you be her. Sonia Blue said nothing. She stared at the blank television screen, her back to Thorne. Jacob wants to know why Sonia is here, and she tells him that she wants money for Claude. Claude is an innocent bystander, and he needs cash to escape and hide until this all blows over. Thorne just wordlessly gets up to give her the money from his wall safe when Shirley, his wife and Sonia's mom, appears. Sonia stepped back, trying to pull the shadows around herself. The movement attracted Mrs. Thorne's attention. She peered at the girl dressed in denim and black leather, her eyes hazed by tranquilizers. Mrs. Thorne gave a strangled cry of recognition and rushed to embrace her daughter. She buried her face in Sonia's shoulder, her tears rolling off the leather jacket. Sonia's arms moved to encircle the old woman, but halted before they actually touched her shoulders. You've come back. Praise the Lord. You've come back to me, just like she said you would. You've come back. Everyone told me to give up, that you were dead, last to me, but I never believed them. Never. Never. I knew you weren't dead. I would have felt it if you were really gone. You were always there. Always. It was hard, so very hard to deny her. Sonia felt something breaking inside. Her heart was full of shards. She was afraid to speak, afraid that her voice would be replaced by the sound of breaking glass. But she had to speak. There was no way back into the bosom of her family. Sonia probes her mother's mind and finds that she has like a tumor of grief, and she pops it. She pops her grief tumor. She was back in her own flesh. A second, perhaps two, of real time had elapsed. Mrs. Thorne, I'm not your daughter. Your daughter's dead. Her words were quiet but firm, just like the push she gave her mother's mind. The girl with the mirror eyes reached out to steady her, but Mrs. Thorne shrank from her touch. Don't you touch her. Thorne was angry and frightened. Get away from her. You've done enough damage already. He hurried to his wife's side, placing himself between mother and child. Mrs. Thorne clutched his arm, her tears splashing on his hands. Jake, our baby's gone. She's dead, Jake. Denise is dead. Thorne's sinus cavity ached with unshed tears, but he refused to weep in front of the thing that wore his daughter's skin. Get out, he hissed. Now. Sonia Blue left without looking back, her bruised companion in tow. If she had permitted herself one last look at Denise's parents, she would have seen Thorne reach for the phone.
Chapter 24 is Claude's point of view.
He had few friends and even fewer lovers. Yes, this is the point of view I'm interested in, Claude. Thank you for bringing me back to him after this monumental moment in Sonia Blue's life. I really need to know what he thinks.
He thanks her for her help. He says, you're not half bad for a vampire, and she laughs, and then a dark sedan jumps the curb and plows right into them. Claude thanks Sonia in the Kindle version. He doesn't do that in the original. He just sort of thinks nice things about her, and then he's attacked. It's kind of wild. It's like my favorite discrepancy between the two versions. He actually thanks her in the updated, newer version. So funny. They're like, Claude's kind of a little bit too much of a dick, so we're gonna have him actually say something nice to her before. Spoilers.
She got to her feet, scanning the pavement, fearful that his benign bulk might be wedged under the front wheels of the sedan. No, the orderly had leapt clear of the vehicle, although not as gracefully as she had. Haggerty sat half in the gutter, looking somewhat dazed. His nose was bleeding again. For some reason that scared her. The doors on the sedan opened, disgorging look-alike young men outfitted in suits, ties, and sunglasses. Haggerty began to laugh. He didn't offer any resistance when two men thrust their guns in his face and pulled him toward the car.
And they shoot her full of bullets and injure her spinal cord. She has visions of Gilardi and Chaz telling her she's close to death, but somehow she's saved by a seraphim bag lady.
Get away from her, hyena. It was Gilardi's voice. Vile idiot thing. Wasted in life, useless in death. Chaz's body dispersed like a cloud caught in a high wind, and Gilardi's oscillating blueness was back. Sonia, I've brought you some help. Sonia? Her eyesight had dwindled to monochrome tunnel vision. She felt like she was peering at a Sony Watchman through a cardboard tube, but she recognized the smiling bag lady bent over her. I'm hallucinating. None of this is real. She hadn't been certain until the appearance of the golden-eyed hag. It was all an illusion, a dream before dying. The seraph trilled crystalline bird song and thrust a gleaming hand into Sonia's guts, and there was no more contemplating the nature of reality and illusion. The maitre d's scorn was palpable. The idea that she would set foot in his restaurant outfitted in jeans and a leather jacket filled him with cold contempt. Mademoiselle has been waiting for you, he said stiffly. Please follow me. The head waiter turned his back on her with military precision and marched into the main dining room. Denise Thorne sat at the table, dressed in a paisley miniskirt, white mid-calf go-go boots, a fringed buckskin vest, and a shapeless, wide-brimmed hat. The maitre d' did not seem to think her wardrobe inappropriate. Thank you, Andre. Denise smiled, and the waiter retired with a formal bow. Denise turned her attention to her guest. Please, won't you sit down? Am I dead? What makes you think I could answer that question? Because you're dead. So you keep insisting, but you wear my flesh and have my memories.
An enigmatic conversation follows. Sonia argues with herself over whether or not she is Denise, Sonia, or the other, or if she is all of them.
Look, what are you trying to get me to admit to? That I'm a figment of Denise Thorne's imagination? That the other is my id, and I'm not a separate entity? Okay, I'll admit those are possibilities, but I don't know if it's true. Maybe I'm a synthesis of Denise and Morgan's egos. Heck, I don't even know if you're Denise. That's right, you don't. Denise lifted a wine glass to her lips. A drop of wine fell from its rim, staining the tablecloth bright red. Sonia pounced, digging her fingers into Denise's pallid face. The skin came away with a thick, syrupy sound, and Sonia stared at the woman smiling at her. Time to unmask, said the woman with mirrored eyes. No more pretending.
Point of view switches to a morgue and a man about to autopsy Sonia's body.
The last guy they had doing it left the poor bastards looking like escapees from a Frankenstein movie. I'm doing something. Of course, as he prepares to do this, she wakes up and grabs at him, and he is terrified, and he screams and he screams, and finally she lets him go and he runs away, never to return. Sonia Blue sat up on the autopsy table, her hands laced gingerly over her stomach. She wasn't sure what the seraph had done to her, but it worked. And not too soon, either. She shuddered at the thought of regaining consciousness as the coroner's electric bone saw bit into her skull. Luckily, she'd come to in that particular morgue before and was familiar with the layout, so there wasn't any problem escaping. She was vaguely aware of a terrible pain in her gut, but that no longer mattered. What mattered was the anger. The anger fed on the pain, creating a hatred crystalline in its purity. The rage in her unfurled like an exotic, night-blooming orchid, and there was power in the hate. She felt its siren call beckoning her to relinquish control and surrender to its acid embrace. In the past, she'd always panicked, disturbed by the visions it conjured, and refuted its source. She'd allowed it to run riot, and when it was sated, she'd blamed the other for its excesses. Now, for the first time since she'd been remade in Sir Morgan's image, she did not deny herself the pleasure of exulting in her fury. She moved through the night streets unseen but not unfelt. Her passage was marked by a shockwave that affected those around her like skiffs caught in the wake of a battle cruiser. Mother slapped her child, then slapped it harder when it began to cry. A bored housewife glanced at the cutlery rack, then back at her husband, sprawled before the blaring television set. A thin young man with horn rims and hair cut so close his scalp gleamed through the stubble pulled down the shade in his bedroom before opening the dresser drawer where the 2 deer rifles, 5 handguns, and 500 rounds of ammo were stashed. The family dog growled, its ears laid flat against its skull, then drew the blood from the master's hand. Sonia Blue was aware of her handiwork on a level alien to humans. She was with each of them in some fashion when they reacted to her goad. Part of her was repulsed by the careless sowing of discord and struggled to make itself heard over the bloodlust singing in her veins. She moved through the city, touching off 1,000 domestic quarrels, barroom brawls, backroom altercations, and rapes. She heard the police sirens in the strident squawking of ambulances as they responded to the epidemic of shootings and stabbings. Good, that would give her the cover she needed. She nimbly dodged a police car, its lights flashing and siren cranked to full volume as it rounded the corner. She laughed, and it seemed as if the sky trembled. Claude. Although distorted by echo, the name sounded familiar. Maybe... Okay. Well, we're just gonna stop right with his stupid fucking point of view chapter. Back to Claude's point of view, he's now in Catherine's bedroom under her spell. She has a tight control over Claude's mind and has made herself look like Denise Thorne. They have sex? I mean, let's be real. She's controlling his mind. This is rape. The Denise Thorne mask she's wearing becomes Sonia. Claude panics and tries to kill them, and Catherine kills Claude, pops his brain. Back to Sonia's point of view, she has arrived at Catherine's stronghold. She kills dogs and guards, patrolling the green space around the house. Tiny little sneeze. They found him dangling from the smooth, twisted branches of a crepe myrtle, his entrails spilled and looped into a hangman's noose. Some of the guards, the ones yet to undergo heart's desire conditioning, decided that it was time to desert when they saw him hanging from the tree like a depraved Christmas ornament. Bilking old ladies of their life savings and roughing up investigative journalists was one thing. This was something else entirely. They seemed honestly surprised when their fellow wheelers opened fire, splashing their insides all over the front lawn. The four-wheelers stood and stared at the collection of dead men and animals heaped about them. The lights flickered, dimmed, flared briefly, then went out. The oozy fire ripped through them as if they were plastic bags full of foam rubber and strawberry jelly. Sonia marveled at the chaos chattering away in her hands. No wonder they're so fond of these things. She kept firing until the clip jammed, then she tossed the gun away. She felt like a Viking berserker, stoned on bloodshed and the inevitability of death. She noticed that she was sweating heavily and that her hands trembled. Fire on the outside and fire on the inside. It would be so simple to surrender to the anger that frothed and foamed in her and charge into battle, screaming like a hellbound soul. She had to be careful and use her brain. The last time she'd surrendered to mindless savagery, it'd come close to costing her what sanity she had left. Still, the temptation was strong. The power filled her until she felt like a balloon made out of skin, stretched to capacity. What would happen to her and those around her should she explode? The lights were off in the study, although it made little difference to her. It might have been high noon with the drapes open. Catherine Wheel sat perched on the edge of the huge oak desk that dominated the room. She was dressed in a silver lame pantsuit with a pink cravat knotted around her neck. Her aura shimmered like heat rising from the sidewalk on a summer's day. The heat that emanated from her was nearly enough to make Sonia swoon. "You've caused me no end of trouble. I should have killed you right away, like Thorne suggested." Sonia flinched. She had to be careful and keep herself screened. Wheel had been inside her head and knew how to twist the knife for maximum effect. They were within easy striking distance of each other, not that it mattered. The attack, when it came, would not be on a physical level. The two exchanged trash talk. Claude's body is revealed. Time and space warps as the fight starts, inside their minds. Now Catherine's point of view. Her battlefield is Dracula-themed, a crumbling old castle, a stormy night, and Catherine as vampire hunter with a bag of steaks. There wasn't much time left. The vampire killer had to hurry if she was going to catch the beast asleep in its coffin. The burial vault was a huge subterranean room with numerous stone sarcophagi scattered throughout. Which one was the vampire's resting place, and how could she lift the heavy marble lid in time? She fought the panic blossoming inside her as she moved from grave to grave, lantern held high. There it was, the only sarcophagus missing its ceiling slab. The light from her lantern reflected off the dark, highly polished wood of the casket. Clutching a silver crucifix, a wooden stake, and her trusty mallet, the vampire killer threw back the lid of the casket, steeling herself for the evil that lay within. "Surprise!" cried the vampire, popping up from its coffin like a grinning jack-in-the-box and slamming up high into the vampire killer's face. Catherine attempts to stab Sonia in her pretend coffin. Sonia laughs her off for being foolhardy. Catherine Wheel was once more in her own body, although she couldn't remember disengaging. Catherine grabs a gun from her desk and fires at Sonia. The pistol kicked in her hand and she saw the bullet emerging from the barrel of the gun. Everything seemed to be going much too slow. It was as if she'd fired while underwater. She saw the nose of the bullet touch the skin of the bubble surrounding her enemy. She saw the skin dimple slightly, then bend slowly inward. She had a vision of herself lighting a match while sticking her head inside a gas oven. Switching over to Wexler's point of view for some reason. He's still alive. He was held prisoner by Catherine since his last appearance, which really was only like 2 days ago. She raped him repeatedly in that time period, and it's very important that we know this. The shockwave slammed into him like a fist, knocking him to the ground. He was in the middle of a firestorm whose flames did not burn flesh and bone but seared the mind. He felt something reach into him with knitting needle fingers, exposing the soft, wiggling things at the bottom of his soul. The something had vermilion eyes and a gaping mouth outlined in blood. There was a brief spasm of pain in his chest that mirrored that in his head. Wexler dropped alongside his BMW, felled by an exploding ventricle. Wexler was the first, but not the only, victim of the blast to die of acute cardiac arrest that morning. Once more, we see a circle of rage and pain. Rabid dogs biting things, people committing suicide, gun violence, and domestic abuse. Ground zero. Catherine is largely saved from the blast by ectoplasm. She exudes it when she uses her powers, and I didn't include that tidbit earlier because I didn't care. Sonia recognized the vicious glop as ectoplasm, although in quantities unprecedented in the annals of paranormal history. Will literally dripped the stuff like one of those grotesque toy monsters that squirt slime from every possible orifice when squeezed. The ectoplasm writhed and bubbled, sculpted by invisible hands into humanoid shape. Sonia stepped back, wary of the phantoms emerging from the goo. The ghosts are the ones who have been stalking Catherine since the day she killed her family. Zebulon possesses Catherine. He uses her ability to reach into bodies, to reach into her own, and remove organs. Each ghost gets an organ. Sonia watched as Catherine Wheel dispensed chunks of her body like an indulgent grandmother handing out Halloween candy. When the last of the phantoms had received its due, Wheel turned and stared at Sonia with empty sockets, the eyes having been parceled out long ago. She stood there waiting for Sonia to come and take her pound of flesh. Sonia wondered how much of the faith healer was actually left inside the shell that stood before her. She shook her head and stepped toward the door. Her desire for revenge had disappeared, leaving a heaviness in the pit of her stomach. Zebulon leaves Catherine's body, and she dies. Sonia sets fire to the mansion and leaves with Claude in her arms. She takes Claude back to his apartment. He is actually still alive, and she smothers him with a pillow. Claude died there in the OG, and in the Kindle, he's alive for a little bit longer. I don't know why. Epilogue. Later, Sonia attends the funeral, where a man approaches her. The little man in the dark suit faltered, his eye contact sliding across her polished lenses. He coughed into his fist. Ahem, Miss Blue. My name is Ottershaw. I represent the interests of my employer, Mr. Jacob Thorne. I have been instructed by Mr. Thorne to give this to you. He produced a business envelope from his breast pocket, and to inform you that, while he greatly appreciates the efforts you have taken on his behalf, he hopes you understand that he wishes to never see you again. Sonia slit the seal on the envelope with her switchblade. It contained a cashier's check drawn on the family bank. She stared at the zeros for a while, then at the limousine. The windows were tinted black, but she could make out two figures huddled on the back seat, Ottershaw and Thorne. He's as guilty as Wheel. He told her to kill you, and you know he's the one who told Wheel where you were after you left his apartment. He probably even ordered Claude's death. Yeah, I know that. Is that it? Are you going to stand there and let him get away with it? Sonia stuffed the envelope into the pocket of her jacket and began walking toward the gates of the graveyard, threading her way through the field of the dead. What do you expect me to do? She asked the other. He's our father. End of book. And thank God Claude's dead. I was going to say if he's in the next book, I will not read it. I will quit. Salty about a dead man. Okay. End of video. What is this booktuber going to rate this book? I don't know. 3 out of 5, I guess. Was that like 5 out of 10? That's okay. It's not the worst thing I've ever read. It's not the best. It's got good ideas. It has its charms and it has its downfalls. The biggest one, obviously, is the editing, but I'm not going to hold it against it. And I'm interested in where the series does go, ultimately. I do want to finish it one day. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Free Palestine, and if you have the means and ability, please consider donating an eSIM to GazaeSIMs.com. I know that probably sounds kind of weird for any older people, millennials and such, watching this. You're like, eSIM, what does that mean? I'm used to a SIM card. Yeah, they're like digital now, and you can buy one and then donate it to GazaeSIMs.com, and then they send it to someone in need. Go to the website and they'll explain how to do it. And there's even artists who are doing commissions voluntarily for people who do that. So check that out. Yeah, thanks for watching. I have to tell you that now that you're in my book club, you can never leave. But you're into vampires, so you're cool with that, right? See you next time. Yes, Dennings. His heart's desire had been Sophia Loren, circa 1962. She moved away from the window. Dennings shivered as if seized by a sudden chill, then continued on his rounds. My heart's desire is also Sophia Loren, circa 1962.